A tough four-day stop in the Show Me State left the Phils with a 3-1 series loss. The trip moved south and things heated up in Miami, where the visitors walked away with a well-earned series win. A split so far in Atlanta, and the road trip finale will be the rubber match before heading back home from this 10-game excursion. Phillies are finishing up 16 games in 19 days on the road. Tonight here at Turner Field, you better have your provisions. The Phillies fans are hoping for a series victory here tonight. They won game one. They lost game two. Now they've got hard-throwing Vince Velasquez going after the marching band, the Braves, and everybody else. The Braves coming in with an 8-24 record. The Phils, 4 games over 500. Hi, everybody. I'm Tom McCarthy, joined by Matt Stairs. All right, so this lengthy road trip for the Phils is finally coming to a close. They have a chance to finish 5-5 on this road trip, which, Matt, when you look at the numbers offensively, 5-5 will be pretty darn good.
Well, I think you'd be very happy going home 5-5. There's a couple of games that got away from us in St. Louis, but really, offensively, they haven't spun the bat very well, hitting .215. Look at the starters' ERA. Bullpen ERA. The reason why they have the 4 wins so far is because they've had timely hitting late in the game, which is very important.
And taking advantage of mistakes from the other team. Well, this guy has been hot on this road trip. It's kind of under the radar hot the way he swung the bats.
He's been swinging the bat very well. Every game on this road trip, he's had a knock. He's up there with a lot of confidence. What I'm very impressed with this year about Odubel Herrera is to be able to stay on the pitches versus left-hander and serve it to left field. If it's a fastball inside, he can hit the ball hard to right field. But really, he's using every part of the field. And that's the reason why he's had such a good road trip. And you see the numbers right here. 351 on the road trip, 1 home run, 2 RBIs. Now the walks are 2, which I don't mind. I mean, he's the guy who should be hitting in the middle of the order. But just really impressed with the way he is approaching the game. He doesn't give any at-bats away. And it's amazing that he's actually 3 for his last 14, and he's still hitting that high.
Yeah, the on-base percentage at .385 for the season, though. It's over .400. He's looking to ignite the Phillies offense here tonight against the Atlanta Braves. The Phils will once again face a guy they've never seen before in right-hander Aaron Blair. Throws in the low 90s, has a good changeup. We'll see if the Phillies can capitalize on his youth in tonight's ball game. Vince Velasquez, meanwhile, make his 7th start. What he wants to do is avoid the changeups to Freddie Freeman. He has 2 home runs in this series, both against changeups. One against Gomez, the other one against Eichhoff. We'll go to the Comcast Sportsnet studios when we return. Phillies baseball is brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. By Toyota. Get a great deal on your favorite Toyota during the Toyota Time Sales Event. Toyota, let's go places. By Citizens Bank. The next time you have a question about money, don't keep it to yourself. Ask a citizen. By Coca-Cola, the official soft drink of the Phils. And by Independence Blue Cross. Live fearless. Learn more at IBX.com. the first row behind the dugout to get ready for the start of today's ball game, which will be delayed. In fact, we were just informed about 15 minutes ago that tonight's ball game will start at 7:20. Not a tremendous delay. There's been some thunderstorms that have been rolling through the area, and they thought that this area was going to get hit with the storm. Now they think that it's going to go past, so only a 10-minute delay, and they're just getting the field ready right now. Current conditions here in Atlanta, 76 degrees. Humidity is at 70%, and there will be thunderstorm threats throughout the course of the evening because it was warm all day here in the southeast. So we'll keep an eye on that, but hopefully we'll play uninterrupted after the Phillies and the Braves get things started at 7:20. Well, Vince Velasquez makes the start here tonight, and Velasquez earlier this season had 16 strikeouts. It was an electric night. Well, the electricity flashed again last night in Washington, D.C. when Max Scherzer tied a major league record with 20 strikeouts. Murph, pretty impressive stuff when you think about what he was able to do against his former team.
You know what, it certainly was, Tom. And the first thing I thought of was the afternoon when Vince Velasquez did that at Citizens Bank Park, the 16 strikeouts, and just how electric it was at that home ballpark watching your guy go out and do something like that. I can only imagine what it was like last night in the ballpark as both sides, both teams are watching what Max Scherzer was able to do. As you mentioned, 20 strikeouts. It is the subject of our greater coverage of baseball tonight, brought to you by T-Mobile. The numbers, well, they speak for themselves. 9 innings pitched, 6 hits allowed, 0 walks, and the 20 strikeouts. How about 24 of 33 first pitch strikes as well? 81% of the pitches that left Max Scherzer's hand last night delivered for a strike. It was an amazing performance. Becomes just the 4th pitcher in Major League history to get to 20 strikeouts in a 9-inning game. It certainly was impressive. And guys, he did it both with velocity and with variety. He threw all his pitches, and he was able to keep that velocity all 9 innings long.
97 miles an hour in his last inning, and it turned out to be a force play at second base that wrapped up the ball game. 5 times in baseball history somebody has reached 20 strikeouts, 4 different pitchers, as Murph said. Our greater coverage of baseball brought to you by T-Mobile. Pitch usage and percent of strikes, there we go, 52% fastball, 55% strikes. And he said that going against that lineup made it extra special. I can only imagine, even though they are going to set a record for strikeouts, the Tigers will, they still are a formidable lineup.
Well, they are. They're very strong, and Max was talking about how he was fired up. So, yeah, it's just another team, but you could tell last night he had the adrenaline going from the first pitch to the last pitch. He was really into the game. I absolutely loved his velocity, though. Started off first 3 innings, 94.9. Look at that, 94.4 going into the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. Hit out 97 once last night, so it was nice to see, but the key for him to have 20 strikeouts, he threw strikes.
He threw strikes.
That was the biggest thing. In his post-game interview, he said, this is the first time I've given up 2 home runs, and I've actually smiled about it.
Yeah, you know, when we saw him earlier this year, he was probably 92, 93. Yep. Every once in a while, he'd hit 95. But a little different story last night in Washington as he strikes out 20 batters. The umpires are heading out toward home plate. They're going to exchange the lineup cards, which means we will have baseball in just a few minutes. We'll take a break and be back to Atlanta right after this. tonight's national anthem as they're putting the tarp away finally, but the rain has started to fall a little harder here at Turner Field, but it looks like we are going to get started. The Phillies are heading back to their dugout. The Braves have taken the field behind right-hander Aaron Blair. Two 23-year-olds on the mound tonight. Vince Velasquez for the Phils and Aaron Blair on the mound for the Atlanta Braves. Let's take a look at the Phillies lineup, brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. Odubel Herrera will lead it off at center field, then Andres Blanco and Michael Franco. Ryan Howard, the first baseman, bats cleanup. Freddie Galvis at shortstop hits fifth. Cameron Ruppel bats sixth. The bottom third of David Lowe, Vince Velasquez, and Peter Borges. And they will face the 23-year-old from Las Vegas, Nevada. He is over from the Arizona Diamondbacks organization, making his fourth major league start. Matty's a big guy, 6'4", 250 pounds. He had a 3-0 record down in the minor leagues, and they've kind of rushed him to the Atlanta Braves more out of necessity than anything else.
Yeah, he's a big guy, and one thing he cannot get caught up in that windup. He hides the ball very well. He's not overpowering with his fastball, but he does have a very good changeup. You know, take a look at the scouting report. Like I said, 89 to 92 mile an hour fastball, curve, and change. Fastball 65% of the time, curveball 16% of the time, and the change 17% of the time.
Well, he has finished up his warm-up tosses, and he is ready to face Odubel Herrera, Andres Blanco, and Michael Franco. Let's go to our Nissan keys to the game.
Well, key number one for me today is play a little cleaner game on D than last night. They had 2 errors last night. Odubel bobbled the ball in center field, which got later turned to a double. And also, Phillies hitters worked the count a little better. I know you have a game plan of swinging early in the count, but please make it your pitch that you want to hit and not the pitcher's pitch.
Well, the Phillies will begin play tonight, 2.5 games out in the National League East with a 19-15 record. So Odubel looks like he's ready to go. The fans are settling into their seats. Umbrellas have popped up again, as we mentioned. The rain is kind of lightening up, and here's the first pitch of the night. After a 10-minute or so delay, we're underway. And it's no balls in 1 strike. Odubel has doubled in this series, and he has singled. He's had a very good month of May, which is basically this road trip plus 1 day against the Indians. He is 13 for 37 on this road trip. And he's behind no balls and 2 strikes. Matt, we said in the open he's only walked twice on this road trip, but as you said, you're okay with that.
I am. He's hitting a lot higher, isn't he?
He is.
You know, he's getting the base hits. Sometimes walking is good, and sometimes for hitters that are very good hitters, it's tough because you're actually getting pitches to hit, and you're fouling them off. That's why you're walking.
Outside, 2 balls and 2 strikes. You wonder how deceptive this motion is because of the little twist that he has before he comes to the plate. As you said, you can't really worry about that, but he does twist. Change up outside, 3-2.
Well, I'm going to say now. When I say now is when a hitter should start doing some movement. Now.
Down the left field line, out of play.
Because all it is he has the Louis T on wind up. He's hiding the ball. But remember, he has to eventually get his hand out of the ball. And when he takes his hand out of his glove, it's the exact same as any other windup.
Let's see if the Phillies can time him for our McDonald's home run jackpot. Timothy Spear of Allentown. Phillies hit a home run. You're going to win $100 tonight. 3-2 pitch to Herrera. Outside, ball 4. So just the 3rd time on this road trip, Odubel Herrera works out a walk. We mentioned the Phillies 2.5 games out in the National League East. The Mets and the Nationals both with 21 victories. Nationals are back by a half game. Phillies are half game ahead of the Miami Marlins. Here's Andres Blanco, who's not played in this series at all, making his second start in his last 15 ball games. He played a big role in the Phillies' 2 victories against the Miami Marlins. 1 ball and no strikes to him. Andres taking a look down in the third base coach's box. Swing and a miss. 1 ball, 1 strike. There's the changeup.
You know, I find it interesting that a lot of people were saying that he has a tremendous changeup, but coming in today's game, the league was hitting 364 versus the changeup. Now you hear Ben and I talk about the difference in speed. There's only about 5, maybe 6 miles an hour difference.
Odubel goes. The throw to second sails into center field. Odubel didn't realize it right away. Stolen base number 6 for Herrera. Yeah, it's interesting, Matt, because reading an article from when he was in the minor leagues, they talked about his fastball being 92 to 96 miles an hour. But as we talked about in the scouting report, it's more 89 and 92. So there's not as much separation as maybe there was when he was coming through the Diamondback system.
And that's why if you look at the scouting report, you see, okay, he's throwing his changeup at 85, 86, and his heater's 92. To me, it tells you that he's choking his fastball, tighter grip, and throwing like a BP fastball, trying to get a little bit more movement on it.
2-1 pitch to Blanco, and he fouls it off to the left into the second deck. 2 balls, 2 strikes. To the left side, into left field, a base hit. Herrera will just go to third because he had a freeze. Now the Phillies have first and third with nobody out. And that'll bring Michael Franco to the plate.
Well, it's good base running right here. Herrera noticing that the ball is hit to his right. Good secondary. I like the fact that he wasn't flat-footed. He was on his tippy toes, bouncing around. Once he got past the third baseman, he got to third base very easy.
You know, Andres Blanco was looking over at Herrera saying, hey, man, how come you didn't score on that? But he did the right thing if Andres goes back and looks at it. Blanco takes inside 1-0. The Phillies have not scored a first inning run on this road trip. In fact, the last time they did it was against the Indians back home on the 30th of April. They haven't scored many first inning runs overall. So it'd be nice to get an early lead here. Infield is back. Down the left field line and out of play. Boy, they almost had a very good first inning lead there. Mike Winters is the crew chief. He's behind the plate for tonight's ball game. Marty Foster, the other veteran, is at first. Mike McClinsky is at second, and Clint Fagan is around at third. One ball, 1 strike. Inside, 2-1.
Well, and it'd be nice to get an early lead. One, to put up a crooked number in the first inning. That hasn't happened a whole lot, like you said, Tom. But then the fact that the pitcher can relax a little bit and not think he has to be perfect with every pitch because the run support isn't there yet. Okay, now we got to go to another inning. I have to put up another 0. It helps pitchers relax a little bit when you score early and middle and late.
And well, they've done their fair share of scoring late. They play Franco to pull on the infield. Up high, 3-1. Aaron Blair, former first-round pick by the Arizona Diamondbacks in 2013. He was the 36th selection overall. Freddie Gonzalez and the Atlanta Braves got him in the Shelby Miller trade. Fly ball center field. Smith is settling under it. Herrera is tagging from third. And Odubel is going to head home as the throw goes to second, and the Phillies take a 1-0 lead. So a sacrifice fly by Maikel Franco. First time this month the Phillies have scored a run in the first inning.
I would say that's an inning where you call small ball. You had a walk, a stolen base, you got them over, first and third, sac fly. That's pretty much how you look in the dictionary. Small ball, Phillies first inning today.
Well, you see in 18 games, now 19 games, the Phillies have scored first. So a little more than half their games. Without knowing that number before it popped up, I'm a little surprised by that they've scored first in that many ball games. Here's Ryan Howard. Howard is 1 for 7 in this series. The one was a home run, an opposite field home run. The infield is playing him to pull, but they're in more so than usual, and it's no balls and 1 strike.
Usually the second baseman's playing way back up in here. Guess you can't see that when I draw on the telly.
Outside, 1-1 to Ryan Howard. Howard is 3 for 25 in the month of May. All 3 of his hits have been home runs. He has not had, let's say, a 4 or 5 game stretch where he has been hot with home runs, extra base hits overall. Takes a breaking ball, and it's 2-1. Well, this young man is struggling with his command right now. Almost like Jared Eickhoff last night. Although Eickhoff was not running deep counts, he was just getting hit early. Change up, and it's 2-2.
Well, so far, key number 2 of my Nissan keys to the game.
Yeah.
It's come true so far. First 4 guys, all 5 pitches or more. Not that I told the Phillies that was going to be the key, but.
To the right side. Waiting on it is Johnson. His only play is to first. Nobody is covering third, so Blanco will go there. Good recognition by Andres Blanco. That doesn't always work out. Ender Inciarte came running in from left field, but there was no chance for him to get there. I'm not sure who was supposed to be over there covering.
Pitcher.
So I was wondering if it was supposed to be Blair.
Yep.
Because the third baseman was going over to cover the bag. Blair was going over to cover first.
Then if that happens, and all of a sudden AJ, I don't really like to see the catcher move.
Then home plate's open.
Well, then hopefully the pitcher reads it.
Yeah.
But I think he was probably told before it happened, hey, if you steal second base, you have third. Happened to be a chop right to the right side. He was going over to cover first base. That's the reason why he got caught up in no man's land.
See if the Phillies can make him pay. The Phillies have capitalized on mistakes so far on this road trip. Freddie 7 for 33 on this trip with 4 RBIs. In the dirt. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Not a fan of that play right there with a strike on a hitter. I'd rather see him do it the first pitch than have a strike on him. So if he fouls it off, now you're in a bigger hole, 0-2. And besides, Freddie doesn't really stay there and lay the bunt down first. He takes off and tries to
drag it,
reach for it,
or push it. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, this is the third 3-ball count for Blair, who's about to throw his 27th pitch of this first inning. 3 balls and 2 strikes. A fly ball to left center field. Malik Smith going back on it. He's out to the track and he makes the catch, and the side is retired. The Phillies get 1. They leave 1 over at third. Middle of the first, it's the Phillies 1 and the Braves coming up. Pendleton, we're just talking to A.J. Pierzynski about the third base play. Who's going to cover in that situation? They looked like they were pretty upset that nobody was over there. Let's take a look at Freddie's lineup. It's brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. Marquez, Inciarte, and Freeman, followed by Kelly Johnson, A.J. Pierzynski, and Gordon Beckham. Eric Ibar, the shortstop, hits 7th. Aaron Blair, the pitcher, 8th. And Malik Smith will bat 9th. And they will face right-hander Vince Velasquez, who wastes no time. He is ready to go. 4-1 with an ERA of 2.17. He has struck out 44 in 37 1/3. Delivers a strike on the first pitch to Markakis.
Take a look at the scouting report. Average velocity 94. 4 good pitches. I like the fact that 28% swing and miss percent on his fastball, which tells me he's got very good life on his fastball.
Very good life. And one thing that Pete talked about today, we were talking to Pete about the approach, because last night the Braves were going right after Jared Eichhoff's fastball. And he said, well, it's all about location. So whether Vince was going to change the game plan tonight, he still needed to locate his fastball. And that was going to be key. 0-2 pitch to Markakis. Fastball that runs outside, 1-2.
Well, and I think Vince's last outing, he realized that versus the Marlins. First couple of innings, yeah, you were throwing 94, 95, bad location. Got hit hard. He made the adjustments and settled down.
Swing and a miss. 94 on that awkward swing. 1 out here in the first. Today's ball game is also available in Spanish. Just use the SAP button on your television or change the language through the menu on your cable box. Here's Inciarte, who is 2 for 8 in the series. And 3 for 7 since he's come back. This is what Pete also said he wanted to see. He wanted to see 94, 95 from the get-go, not 91, 92. We've seen 92, 93, 94, 95 from Velasquez. And that one is chopped back toward the middle. Galvis fluidly throws low, dug out by Howard. 2 outs. Nice play all the way around. And now the red-hot Freddie Freeman, who is the only real hot hitter in the Braves lineup. He has 5 hits in the series, including 2 home runs. He has 6 of the 9 home runs the Braves have hit this year.
That's a crazy stat. I mean, it really is.
On both ends. The fact that they only have 9 homers. Swing and a miss. This was last night, his 2nd home run of the series.
Coming off a changeup. Crushes it to right field. I made the mistake last night thinking it was a fastball, but it didn't have a lot of movement. That's why I thought it was a heater.
I was going to say the actions of that pitch looked more fastball than changeup. And, you know, Jared's changeup is a work in progress, as he said. Fastball in there, 0-2. There's Jared Eickhoff. 4 1/3 last night, 7 hits and 4 runs. Pete rehashed it again today, McCannon, and just felt like it was more fastball command that was the issue. People talked about being free and easy, and the ball is not really coming out free and easy. And Pete said, no, he goes, I think he's pushing it too much. You know, it definitely isn't free and easy right now. 1-2 pitch to Freeman. Got him. Blew a 95-mile-an-hour heater right on by him. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Vince Velasquez. On to the 2nd. 1-0 Phillies. Round for the Phillies as they took a 1-0 lead, then watch Vince Velasquez strike out 2 of the 3 batters he faced. And now Cameron Rupp will lead it off at the top of the 2nd. It'll be Rupp, Lowe, and Velasquez against Aaron Blair, who throws his 29th pitch already, and he gets a strike on the outer edge. Over to third base. Comfortable hop for Beckham. And 1 away. Well, for the first time in a couple of years, we are going to ignite the Callis Award again. Go to PhillyBroadcasters.org. Now, the Callis Award has been given out 4 or 5 years for a rising junior or senior in college who has a stated desire and shown initiative towards a career in sports broadcasting. The scholarship that we will give out, the deadline for it is May 31st. Now, There'll be a $2,500 scholarship that will be awarded, payable for the 2016 fall semester. And we've had some great recipients already for that award who have gone on to already start their careers, not only in broadcasting but in public relations. So go to PhillyBroadcasters.org. You can download the application, and maybe you can be the next award winner. Now, the eligible colleges and universities are all those in Pennsylvania, unless located in the counties of Allegheny, Armstrong, outside of the area. Also, those in New Jersey located within the counties of Atlantic, Burlington, Camden, Cape May, Cumberland, Gloucester, Hunterdon, Mercer, Ocean, Salem, and Warren, and all those located in Delaware. We've had some great recipients over the years. Our first one was Josh Schrager, who works on our home telecast and works for the 76ers with Comcast Sportsnet. Kenny Ayers, who works in our PR department with the Phillies. So it could be your next step, and you get some cash for college. 3-2 to David Lowe. David Lowe, .262 hitter. He stays alive by punching that foul. Tyler Goodell has started the last 3 games out in left field. There's Tyler. Down the left field line and out of play.
Nice catch by the gentleman. That is why you bring a glove.
It was a very comfortable catch, too.
Doesn't hit you on the cabeza. Goes in the glove. You sit down.
I think he's got the full wardrobe going. I think he's got a batting glove in that glove. Fly ball to center field. Malik Smith will make the catch. Second out of the inning. And here comes Vince Velasquez hitting 8th. Velasquez 2 for 12 so far this year.
Blair kind of reminds me of Aaron Harang on the mound.
He does have a little Aaron Harang to him.
Big man. You think it's going to come in there mid-90s, upper 90s?
It's interesting, though, Matt, watching or reading some of the reports when he was in the minor leagues. It did say that he would throw 96 miles an hour. I don't think he's anywhere near that. See Velasquez, who taps that one foul. Mike Winters, the home plate umpire, is consistently giving the pitchers that outside part of the plate. Back toward the middle and over the bag, backhanded by Johnson, and a base hit for Velasquez, his 3rd of the season.
Doesn't matter if you're a pitcher, hitter, catcher. When you smell you're going to get a knock, it seems like you're running a little quicker. Back up curveball. He smells that knock, puts his head down, and good throw by Beckham. Still wouldn't have had him.
Now Peter Borges 2 for 7 in the series. And he hits one in the air to shallow right field. Markakis will make the grab, and the side is retired. No runs, 1 hit, and 1 man left. We'll head to the bottom of the 2nd. Velasquez will go back to work with a 1-0 lead. And Lehigh Valley defeated Columbus 2-1. Al Gasher has pitched very well, not only in AA, but now in AAA. He has a 3-0 record, a 0.40 ERA. Taylor Featherston, 3 hits, a double, and a run scored. Nick Williams, a 2-run home run. Lehigh Valley snapped a 3-game losing streak. By the way, in AA, Dylan Cousins homered again today. We start the bottom of the second. Kelly Johnson will lead it off in the first inning. Vince Velasquez, 10 pitches, 10 fastballs. Velasquez is just waiting out on the mound, and I believe they're waiting for the second base umpire to signal that we can continue. So we're ready to go. He gave the signal. And the first pitch to Kelly Johnson is taken low. 1 ball, no strikes. Fastball up and in, 2-1. Johnson had 3 hits in yesterday's ball game. He comes in hitting .233. No home runs, 5 runs batted in.
I think it's safe to say that Vince wanted to establish his fastball early in this game.
Yeah, that's just a bit outside and a walk. It's only the 12th walk he's issued in 38 1/3 innings. That'll bring Brzezinski to the plate. Let's check in with Greg Murphy. Murph.
All right, thanks very much, Tom. Well, you were just giving the minor league report. We also have some news from Clearwater of a similar kind. This was in an extended spring training game, and that is that Cody Ashe participated in that game. Certainly good news as he comes back from his oblique injury. He was able to play in the entire game and play in the field. He went 0 for 2 with 2 walks, so he had 4 at-bats in that game. And, you know, as long as he wakes up tomorrow and is still feeling pretty good as he recovers from that oblique, you would have to imagine that a rehab assignment is in his very near future, which certainly is good news for Cody Ashe and for the Phils as well, guys.
That's great news considering, you know, he's been hurt since the first week of spring training. Well, that's very optimistic for Cody, and hopefully he can get himself into some more games and get into a rehab assignment. Here's AJ Pierzynski. Pierzynski hitting .203 this year. Tonight is the 2000th game of Pierzynski's career. Hits it foul, out of play, 0-1.
Big test for Cody Ashe will be back-to-back days, of course, but taking an awkward swing at a certain pitch, either a high pitch up and away where it's like that little quick jerk what you do with your body, or the slider down and in, which you reactivated in spring training.
Out to right field, Peter Borges will make the catch and 1 away, because he had a home run in his first game back because he had the oblique early. Hit a home run in his first at-bat, and then it was his next at-bat where the issue occurred that put him on the shelf for this amount of time.
And the worst thing about it, it's at his right side, which is left side you can get away with it. Right side as a left-handed hitter, that's what it grabs you every time you take a swing.
Gordon Beckham last night had 1 hit. It was originally scored a single. They've changed it to a double. We received notification right before the start of the ball game that it was a double, not a single.
Which is the correct call.
Laid on a fastball. It's 0-1. 96 from Velasquez. It's the first time that he's hit 96 tonight. I don't think he's thrown anything but fastballs so far.
19 heaters. Soon to see 20. Well.
Well,
I lied.
He threw a slider.
Just a show me pitch to set up the next pitch.
7 balls, 13 strikes. Toward the middle, and it's picked up by Galvis right around the bag, and the double play retires the side. No runs, no hits, and nobody left. We'll go to the third with the Phillies on top, 1-0. In the first inning, it'll be Odubel Herrera, Andres Blanco, and Maikel Franco to face right-hander Aaron Blair here in the top of the third. Odubel just peeked up at the big old video board here in center field, and you couldn't miss it. It gave his numbers over the last 7 games. Saw a little bit of a smile on his face. And, you know, if you were hitting .333 over your last 7 games, you'd probably smile too. There's that big video board, which they're going to duplicate in the new ballpark. Outside, and it's 1 ball, 1 strike.
These are the at-bats that I want to see how the Philly hitters attack or approach Blair. First 4 hitters saw a lot of pitches. Let's see if they stay with the same game plan.
Let's see if he attacks them a little differently too. Line drive back toward the middle. That'll drop in for a base hit. So Odubel's been on base both times tonight. Well, it's time now for the Jeep Stuff the Fans trivia question. Log on to Phillies.com, go to the fans section for all the information, and please submit your answer on the subject line. All right, Matt, the question is, what two catchers have reached double digits in home runs in at least 9 of the past 13 seasons? The answer will be revealed in just a little bit. Odubel did not get a good jump, so he stopped.
I might need that question read again because I kind of forget it already. Something about two catchers.
Outside corner, it's 1-1. Two catchers who have reached double digits in home runs in 9 of the past 13 years. Odubel was going, and he gets back ahead of the tag by Freddie Freeman.
Whoop. Should tell you, though, that you don't have to worry about his move because that was a quick move. You still were caught in your right foot, and you got back in time. That's where the first baseman I used to say, man, that was his bad move, too. Let's get a better one than that.
Anybody ever buy that?
No.
Somebody had to have, though.
Giambi.
He should have known you better. Blanco rolled a single through the left side his first time up. And he fouls that one at the plate. 2-2.
Good pitch to run on right here. 2-2. If he throws a fastball, Wedgie's going to be swinging at it if it's in the strike zone. If it's an off-speed pitch, good time to steal on an off-speed pitch.
Oh, that could be a double play ball. 4-6-3 double play, and the side is retired. Excuse me, that's 2 outs. My bad. And Maikel Franco's coming up. Well, I'm with you. You know, he's got the ability to swipe a bag. He stole it comfortably his first time up. Juan Samuel is saying something to him as he walks by him in the third base coach's box. I think you put your foot on the pedal against this kid.
Well, I would agree, and I think I can't read minds or read lips, but Juan's probably saying you need to trust yourself over there. Sometimes guys will get out there and they don't trust themselves, or they don't trust what they're seeing in a pitcher. You saw the first inning, he stole second base easily.
That should be your cue.
It should be. But that's the learning experience with younger players, is trusting your eyes, trusting what you see. A lot of times the guy will take a lead off and he'll fake the steal and say, oh, I had that. Well, trust yourself. Go ahead.
No balls and 2 strikes to Franco. Andres talking to Carlos Ruiz as Franco fouls it off to the right, not a play. Kind of the same stuff he was doing to himself in Miami the other day. And a breaking ball just misses.
Franco looks a little jumpy hitting right now.
He tied him up and struck him out with a changeup. First strikeout for Blair. No runs, 1 hit, and nobody left. We'll go to the bottom of the third. Phil's still lead at 1-0. Brought to you by your Delaware Valley Honda dealers. Heard of your local Del Val Honda dealer. Visit DelValHondaDealers.com. By WB Mason, you can't go wrong when you buy right. And buy your local Ford stores. Drumline was entertaining the crowd out in center field before the start of the ball game. Go to the bottom of the third, and the Phils up 1-0. Vince Velasquez will face Eric Ibar, Aaron Blair, and Malik Smith. Delivers high. Well, last night's 20 strikeout performance by Max Scherzer meant that he sped past Velasquez, who had the strikeout high for a pitcher here in 2016. Ground ball foul, and it's 1-1. There have been 5 pitchers this year who have struck out 14 or more in a game. David Price did it against these Braves. Clayton Kershaw did it against San Diego. Tanner Roark had 15 against Minnesota. And of course, Vince against the Padres. And then the 20 last night by Max Scherzer against the Tigers. 1-2 to Ibar.
Wasn't Roark's punch outs in 7 innings?
Because his pitch count was high. Yeah, Scherzer last night, you know, Murph was breaking down the numbers. He had 8 strikeouts through 3, 13 through 6. Ibar 1 for 7 in the series so far. Softly to the right side. Ryan Howard has it. The Phillies' fantastic auction is going on right now. Now, part of the fantastic auction includes a trip to here in Atlanta, a trip for 2 to see the Braves and the Phils series the 28th through the 31st of July. Now, the trip includes hotel accommodations, airfare, game tickets, and it's the final season the Braves will play here at Turner Field. We've always said we love this place. It's shocking that they're moving elsewhere, but this has always been one of our favorite places to go. It also includes a $750 voucher for round-trip air travel. 3 nights at the Ritz-Carlton Buckhead, which, trust us, it is a beautiful place. Now, it closes the 17th of May at 9 p.m. But you can go to Phillies.com and check out the fantastic auction and bid on some of the items that are up right now, including that trip to here in Atlanta. Aaron Blair floats one out toward right field, and it's going to drop in for a base hit. It's his first major league hit, and it's the first hit of the night for the Atlanta Braves. So they'll put that one away. Get it authenticated before it becomes a keepsake for him.
You know, you mentioned the Ritz-Carlton in Buckhead. To me, one of my favorite hotels, and how the people there, unbelievable, polite. It's almost like you're standing in a bunch of Canadians. Well, we were this weekend.
Swing and a miss by Malik Smith. It is a great hotel. The whole area where we stay here in Atlanta, where you can get a chance to stay if you bid on the fantastic auction, is beautiful. Plenty of restaurants, plenty of shopping. Popped up foul over the third base dugout, and it's 0-2. And you're right about the people. Everywhere you go, they know your name. You know, whether it be in the hallway,
yep,
the maid service, or the concierge, or the folks that open the door for you when you walk in, people at the front desk, they know your name. I mean, we come here 3 times a year. We've been coming here for years, and it's the same people. But yeah, that is a great trip, and there's so much to do around this area as well. If you're a golfer, there's plenty of golf, plenty of shopping, as we mentioned. If you remember him as president, the Jimmy Carter Library is here in Atlanta. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Malik Smith. And he stays alive and hits the screen.
Ben Davis likes it because there's Chipotle and Chick-fil-A side by each.
And he'll buy both
for lunch today.
For lunch. The man's a machine when it comes to food. You would think you and I are machines when it comes to food. Fly ball left field. David Lowe will get back to his spot and wait for it. And there are 2 outs.
Plus they have that great restaurant, New York Prime, around the corner from the hotel.
If you like Davio's in Philadelphia, there's a Davio's here too. Markakis struck out his first time up. Velasquez struck out 2 in the first inning. That one's fouled at the plate by Markakis. Throwing a little more sliders now.
You know, and the last thing we'll say is you go down to the hotel bar, you can meet a famous guy from the Big Bang Theory.
Johnny Galecki.
Thank you.
Yeah. We were talking about that today, the amount of celebrities that have been in that hotel. Swing and a miss, 0-2. There's a high heater. You wanted more of those last night, and Velasquez is able to get to that spot here tonight.
I just find with someone who throws 91, 92 cannot get away with saying this, throwing the same pitch twice in the same location. So a fastball low and away, hitters will make the adjustment. One thing about someone who throws 94 to 96, you can throw the exact same pitch back-to-back areas and still have swing and misses.
Outside, 2 balls and 2 strikes. I think they're probably happy with the command that he has tonight, the aggressive command he has tonight compared to his last outing against the Marlins. Pete and Bob were talking before we came into the clubhouse today, and I think that was one of the things they were discussing about Jared Eichhoff. Swing and a miss. He got him. 95 on that fastball. That's the 3rd strikeout for Velasquez. He's gotten Markakis twice. Side is retired. No runs. A hit. 1 man left. We're on to the 4th inning. The Phillies up 1-0. Taking a page out of, like everybody else, out of Baltimore and Camden Yards and everything that's around Baltimore. Now, it's not downtown like in Baltimore, but you mentioned all the shops, the hotels, everything that's going to go on around it. If anybody's ever been up to Foxborough, there's not a whole lot around the Patriots Stadium, but there's this shopping center and hotels and restaurants that are right outside the stadium. It's kind of the same concept. And if you saw the roof of the projected stadium, SunTrust, if you saw that roof will actually move, so it'll shade more of the area, the seating area, when needed, and then we'll pull back when it's a night game like this. It won't be needed as much. It's not a retractable roof, but it's going to act like that a little bit, sort of covering it. There's Ryan Howard to lead off the 4th, and he takes outside. It's 1-0. Howard has grounded out tonight. 2 balls and no strikes. Out front, 2-1. Pulled him on the changeup the last time he was up. Same kind of pitch. And then he wound up grounding out.
Same kind of pitch. Last time was 2-1. This time was 2-0. So he's pitching backwards. Which everyone does nowadays anyway, so.
.90 on that fastball. Was in a good spot to hit. Ball 4. So Howard draws a walk. That's good to see. And Freddie Galvis is coming up. This Saturday when the Phillies take out the Reds, it's Tampa respiratory night at Citizens Bank Park, and a free Phillies cap to all fans. It's all part of the weekend series against the Reds. Tickets can be purchased right now by going to Phillies.com. Pitch outside, and Przinsky will head out to the mound. In the air to right field. Towering shot. Markakis going back to the wall. It is gone! A 2-run home run by Freddie Galvis. And he's just added to the Phillies' lead. It's 3-0 here in the top of the 4th inning. Freddie has just won $100 to Timothy Spear of Allentown, Pennsylvania, as part of the McDonald's home run jackpot.
I love this swing. Nice and easy. Make an adjustment from yesterday, where yesterday it was really heavy on his front foot, which causes him to go in that zone and take that bat out of the zone. Well, that time there, nice and easy, nice and relaxed, and hit an absolutely towering home run to right field.
Cameron Rupp takes a strike. It's 0-1. Little celebration going on in the dugout. And Rupp strikes out. One away here in the 4th inning. Second strikeout for Blair. And Eric O'Flaherty starts to warm up in the pen. Kelly Johnson a few steps to his right. And Lowe is retired. 2 outs. WB Mason offers the brands you love, like Swing Line's huge selection of laminators and shredders. Whether you're preserving your best work or safely destroying your most confidential documents, Swing Line and WB Mason deliver a cut above the rest. Who but WB Mason? Here's Velasquez.
Now you sit here and I've been scratching my head thinking, okay, where was this approach last night? Same type of pitcher. He's not going to be able to blow that fastball by you. He doesn't have the overpowering off-speed pitch. But last night, for some reason, we thought it was a swing early game. And tonight, the guys have been working the count, taking some good swings.
How about Velasquez? Hits one back toward the middle. Johnson again is able to flag it down, but it'll be an infield hit. You're right. And you wonder if last night gave them a little bit of a cue, sort of reignited them and their approach and how they wanted to look at things.
And that's a great point, Tom. And honestly, I think last night, if you watched the approach that the guys took versus Williams Perez, they were pulling off everything or hitting weak ground balls the third as the left-handers, which tells me they are pulling off everything. Tonight, they've had better aggressive swings through the zone, as I mean by their barrels are going through the zone a little longer, and they're not getting pull happy. Pulling a ball is a mistake. It's a reaction. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a great reaction and a great mistake.
75th pitch of the night is fouled off to the right.
That's why it's so important when you tell yourself when you're facing a guy that's not overpowering, or even if the guys are throwing hard, you still have to think middle the whole way. Your approach is hitting that ball back up the middle, Xfinity to State Farm, left center, right center. It just gives you a better chance. This is the angle you want to think every time when you're hitting.
High chopper left side. Ibar has it, throws to second, not in time to get Velasquez. Everybody is safe. And that puts runners on first and second for Odubel Herrera. It'll be a hit right now for Borges, and we'll see if Freddie Gonzalez wants to challenge it or not. It was a close play at second base.
He was safe.
Yeah, it looked like his foot was there. Freddie Gonzalez is coming out, but not to challenge. He's coming out to make a pitching change. So Eric O'Flaherty is going to come on to face Odubel Herrera with the Phillies up 3-0 and runners on first and second with 2 men down. So Blair will exit after 3 2/3. The Phils hoping to get another run or two here in the top of the 4th.
Broad crew, is Ben Simmons stock sliding?
He is not at the NBA draft combine in Chicago, but we are. We're going to talk live to CSN's Jessica Camarado, who is in Chi-Town.
We will see you at 6 on the Comcast Network.
A lot of the scouting report on Ben Simmons really centers around his jump shot and whether he has one to play in the NBA or not. We shall see. Here the Phils are up 3-0 in the top half of the 4th inning. They have runners on first and second, and the veteran Eric O'Flaherty will take over with the left-hander Odubel Herrera coming up to the plate. O'Flaherty a 4.70 ERA. And Odubel has walked once and scored. He's also singled tonight.
No, Flaherty's pretty much a 2-pitch pitcher. Fastball 89-92 and throws a hard slider at 85.
He had a couple of years where he was a devastating lefty out of the bullpen, and we saw a lot of him and those kind of pitchers in the National League East because the Phillies had Utley and Howard, and they had the switch hitters and Victorino and Rollins.
Raul Ibanez.
That's right. Matt Stairs.
No.
Sure they did. Late inning left-handed bat off the bench. Needed a lefty against you. Come on, just agree with me.
Matt Stairs.
Odubel's done a very good job on this road trip just bearing down against lefties. in the dirt. 1 ball, 1 strike.
I just noticed with Odubel, and I mentioned in the open how he can change his swing from pitch to pitch. First swing he went after, a little wild. Then all of a sudden the second pitch right there, he recognizes it a little early, and his body calms down. Now, hopefully he gets a knock here because it'll make me sound good, but he stays on the ball very well, hitting it to left field. He doesn't pull off on the baseball.
Yeah, sometimes it's not hit sharp,
right,
but it's hit enough to pick up a base hit.
Boy, it's put in play. And we talk about strikeouts and how many strikeouts are being added up throughout the Major League Baseball. Odubel Herrera hates to strike out. He despises it. And I think it shows the way he battles in there and changes his approach and tries to play pepper with the left fielder just to put the ball in play.
There you go. Put it in play softly to the right side. Johnson flips it, and it goes right past Freddie Freeman. Velasquez will score. Borges goes to third, and the Phillies lead it 4-0. That'll be a base hit for Odubel Herrera, and then an E4 to allow Velasquez to cross the plate.
Well, right on cue, putting the ball in play. A lot of good things happen. Bad choice right there by Johnson trying to do that glove flip. Vince comes around and score. This is, to me, this is the most important bat of the night. Vince just broke. He just had an infield single. He busted his butt to second base to beat out a play. He scored from second base. You need to give him a breather.
Blanco takes the first pitch. It's 1-0.
It's almost like an automatic take a first strike. You need to give him a little breather to catch his breath, get some water. That's a long enough wait, so now I'll go ahead and hit a double.
Way you can extend the innings if you keep it alive. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Phillies have scored 4. Be nice to get that 5th run across the plate here in the top of the 4th inning. Good speed on the base paths.
I can't remember the last time Blanco had a bat right-handed. He's only have 7 on the year.
Boy, that's a good point. Most times off the bench, he's batting left-handed.
Yep.
On the Toyota Major League scoreboard, Astros and the Red Sox are battling up at Fenway. The Red Sox lead at 5-1. Xander Bogaerts a 2-run home run. Dallas Keuchel has allowed 5 earned runs or more in 4 of his last 5 starts. In the American League East, the Red Sox are 8 games over 500, even with all the issues they've had. They're right even with the Baltimore Orioles. Swing and a miss. Blanco strikes out, and the side is retired. But the Phils do score 3 runs in the inning. They leave a couple. Freddie Galvis provided a big jolt with a 2-run home run. That was before an out was recorded. We'll head to the bottom of the 4th inning. The Phillies on top of the Braves 4-0 here in Atlanta. By Toyota. Visit buyatoyota.com to find your RAV4 today. Toyota, let's go places. Let's go Phils. Bottom of the fourth inning. Final day of this 10-game road trip. 10 games, 11 days. Phils will head home for an extended homestand. It begins tomorrow night against the Cincinnati Reds. 3-game series against the Reds. 2 night games and a day game on Sunday. Eder Inciarte will lead it off against Velasquez, and it's 1 ball and no strikes. He was asked an interesting question today during his conversation with the members of the media about the reception when the team comes back home. If he was expecting it to be, even better than the weekend series against the Cleveland Indians. And he said, well, I hope it's good. He said, I'd like to think that fans will come out and support the club because we are an interesting team to watch right now. And he is right. I mean, right now the Phillies have 19 wins, 19-15. And there's an awful lot of positives, including this young man on the mound right now. And the guy that will pitch on Saturday in Aaron Nola. Here's the 1-2 pitch to Inciarte. Threw him a breaking ball, and it's 2-2. Adam Morgan coming off his outing, his last time out. He's another one. They seem pretty relaxed, don't they, in the dugout?
10-year veterans, 10-5 guys. Nice and relaxed. That's the way it should be.
Pretty close. 96-mile-an-hour heater. 45 pitches so far for Velasquez. Just 6 off-speed pitches. Strike 3 call. Right down the chute. 4 strikeouts for Velasquez. I don't know what Inciarte was looking for. I think location maybe more than anything else.
Well, he wasn't looking apparently a fastball inner third, because that was a very good pitch to hit. But then again, he did pitch him away quite a few times. Sometimes hitters will freak out a little bit when a fastball's thrown inside and you're looking away.
Here's Freddie Freeman. He struck out his first time up. I think that's the first time he started off a hitter with something other than a fastball.
Freeman still has a very short swing. He always has. That ball right there was well off the plate, and he still got the barrel to it and fouled it off. It's a good pitch.
Try to change up, and it's 3-1. Only the second 3-ball count for Velasquez.
One thing I will say about Vince, he does not back down. Doesn't matter who's hitting. He trusts his fastball, and he knows if he can spot this fastball, Freddie will not make contact with it.
Swing and a miss. He surprised him with a breaking ball. 5 strikeouts for Velasquez. He has struck out the last 3 hitters he has faced.
You're thinking you're getting a heater. Next thing you know, watch how late he is on this because he's just looking fastball.
And the problem for Freeman is that was a strike if he didn't swing.
Yep.
Only walk of the night was Kelly Johnson his last time up. 1 hit, 1 walk so far for Velasquez. Over to first base. That's a fair ball. So he used his slider the last 3 pitches. 3 unassisted for Howard. 1, 2, 3 go the Braves. Second 1, 2, 3 inning of the night for a smiling Vince Velasquez. Service delivers everything you've come to expect and more. Watch every out-of-market game live in HD on over 400 supported devices. It includes a free subscription to At Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. Phillies fans have a lot to be happy about here tonight. That cat's going old school. Old school cap and jersey. Swing and a miss by Maikel Franco. Franco struck out his last time up. He has a sac fly tonight as well. Facing Eric O'Flaherty for the first time. Opposite way, and Markakis backpedals. And a quick out here in the 5th inning for O'Flaherty. Matt, it's time now for our timeless moment, brought to you by Coors Banquet. On this date in 1987, Phillies third baseman Mike Schmidt scored his 1,366th career run, breaking Ed Delahanty's all-time club record. Future Hall of Famer would go on to score 140 more runs in his career for a total of 1,506. A record that still stands today. Jimmy Rollins finished his Phillies career with 1,325 runs scored. Ryan Howard is the current active leader with 825 runs scored. There are some numbers that Mike Schmidt will always have, at least for the very foreseeable future, and runs scored is one of them. Fly ball to shallow left. Ender and Ciarte puts it away. 2 outs. You think about all the the fact that Jimmy is the all-time hits leader, that he passed Mike for that, but he was still that far away from him as far as runs scored go. The other part that's remarkable is Ed Delahanty. He stopped playing Major League Baseball in 1903, so his record stood for 80 years. Check out Matt Stairs' runs scored. See where he would rank. Galvis hits himself with that foul ball.
Not real high.
770 runs scored for Matt. You know where the problems were. 08 and 2011. Well, in 06 too. You only had 4 in 08, 4 in 11.
Wait, in 08? I only scored 4
with the
runs?
Phillies. With the Phillies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So now, I knew I wasn't a very good player, but uncle.
46 total, counting the Blue Jays. Minutes to 2 will be Saturday, May 21st at 9 a.m. prior to the Phils-Braves game, which is scheduled for 3:05. Now the cost is $50, a 60-minute yoga session on the field, Phillies branded yoga mat, a lower level game ticket, and complimentary parking. Food and drink specials for participants at Xfinity Live in between the yoga and the game. For more information or to order tickets, go to phillies.com/yoga. You gonna come back from Canada for that?
No, I have spin class.
Oh. Freddie Galvis out to shallow left field, and it's going to be a tough play, and it's off his glove. That's David Lowe's ball all the way. I don't know if Freddie was calling it or not, but David had the better angle on it, and that'll be the second error of the season for Freddie Galvis.
No, you're right. That's David Lowe's ball the whole way. He comes in. I understand that Freddie Galvis has great hands, but as an outfielder, you're the captain on those type of plays. He can be camped underneath it, swinging his arms. You call him off because you have the right of way to better angle coming in. It's your ball as an outfielder.
Well, it's only the third base runner for Velasquez. The last time Beckham was up, there was a base runner, and he rolled into a 6-3 double play. 92 with that fastball. Bullpen action for the Braves. Bud Norris, the long man. Ground ball to shortstop. That could be 2 again. There's 1, 2. Second time tonight that Beckham is hit into a double play.
Watch the location of this breaking ball down in the zone, out in front of it. That's the reason why you got a ground ball. Perfect feed right there and a strong throw.
Boy, he's made some really good pitches tonight.
He has.
I mean, you know, the 5 strikeouts aside, he's going to strike guys out. He's just a power pitcher, so it's going to happen. But he's made some good pitches, and his fastball has been down. And that one's starting to rock and roll a little bit too, that slider.
It's a tremendous pitch.
That's a smile right there from Bob McClure. I should say the curveball. Off the hands, spinning out towards second. Ibar's hands are going to be rattling for the next few minutes. No runs, no hits. There was a Phillies error. Nobody left. We're going to go to the top of the 6th inning. 4-0 Phillies on top. Philly of the week has plenty of reasons to smile throughout the first month plus of the 2016 season. Odubel's success a season ago has continued into his second campaign. After reaching base in 21 straight games in April, the numbers keep coming in May. The energetic center fielder is among the NL's best in on-base percentage. Walks, singles, pitches seen, and hits. Herrera never lacks flair on the diamonds. In a flash, he's moving from base to base. And it's all brought to you by Independence Blue Cross. Live fearless. Well, they changed the number just a moment ago from 63 to 62. That is a former Olympic gold medalist, Dan O'Brien, who back in 1996, when this was an Olympic stadium, participated in the decathlon. He won the gold here in Atlanta. I wondered if they would have some former Olympic athletes come back and help commemorate the final year of baseball here at Turner Field. Castro comes on to play shortstop for the Braves. Bud Norris is the new pitcher. Castro will bat 8th. And Bud Norris will bat in Ibar's spot. Cameron Rupp will lead it off, and Rupp fouls the first pitch away.
Bud Norris been around for a while, 4-pitch pitcher. He's not used a whole lot of the bullpen when using through 4 pitches, but he has a good fastball, 94. Slider change, and you just saw the cut fastball.
Going too quickly. To Cameron Rupp, who was grounded out. He's also struck out. And he strikes him out on a high fastball. Well, an update from down in Reading. We talked about Dylan Cousins' home run, but how about Ricardo Pinto, who has a no-hitter through 6 innings. Reading is playing at Arm & Hammer Park in Trenton, New Jersey, and they lead the Thunder 3-0. 6 innings, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. So we'll keep you up to date on that. David Lowe takes strike 1. Pinto last year finished with 15 wins between Lakewood and Clearwater. He's making his 7th start for the Reading Titans. He does not have a win, but the charms of minor league baseball. He has a good ERA, but just doesn't have a win. 2-1. And Lowe has been hit by a pitch, so he's going to be aboard with 1 man down here in the 6th inning.
Hit him right in the kneecap.
Bud Norris 1 year won 15 games for the Orioles.
Back left kneecap.
Yeah, it almost looked like he moved his front leg out of the way, and it just kept on coming. Norris is a big-time prospect for the Astros at one point. Never really put it together for Houston, but 15 wins in 2014 with the Orioles. This year, he has made 5 starts.
That's why he has a scouting report of 4 pitches.
Velasquez lays down a bunt up the first base line, and it's 2 for 2. And now a sacrifice bunt to put a runner at second base with 2 men down. I have to admit, I didn't expect him to bunt there because there was 1 out and he already had a couple hits.
Sitting on his average. It's a good bunt, though. Look, he got the barrel out, nice and easy.
Borges singled his last time up. He's also flied to right. And a line drive caught by Beckham. Hit it right on the nose. And that'll do it for the Phillies here in the 6th inning. No runs, no hits. 1 man left in scoring position. We'll move to the bottom of the 6th. Phillies 4, Braves nothing. Toyota during the Toyota Time sales event. Toyota, let's go places. Buy McDonald's. Jumpstart your morning with a hot or iced McCafe coffee. Now starting at just $1. And buy Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. 4-0 Phillies as we move to the bottom of the 6th inning. Daniel Castro will lead it off. Delivers outside. 1 ball and no strikes. Castro hitting .203, no homers and 4 runs batted in. Velasquez looks like he's played in an American Legion game out there. He's very relaxed. He's got mud on his legs from a slide. He's had a couple of knocks. It's got this pace of a 23-year-old that you love to see. I mean, there's a lot of energy. Not a care in the world.
We need to work that little flip to yourself, though. He just wore one right in the nose. You know, and he does. He has that flair. He's relaxed. He has the 2 knocks. Technically, he has 3 knocks because he got the second base for Peter Borges to get a knock as well. But his tempo's been tremendous today.
That one's popped up on the first base side. Ryan Howard is under it. And 1 out. Well, it's all part of the reason, Murph, that the Phillies could be optimistic because of the youth of this pitching rotation, and there's more to come as well.
Yeah, I think that is one of the main reasons that fans are excited about watching this team grow and kind of come together because of the youth in that pitching staff. But you know what's ironic is when we got to the ballpark yesterday, we were expecting to see Jhoulys Chacin for the Atlanta Braves. Well, he got traded yesterday, as you know, to the LA Angels. And because of that, they now have the youngest rotation in baseball. That distinction belonged to the Phillies before the trade of Chacin. But now Atlanta, the average age of their starting 5, 24 years old, 24 years and 1 month old. The Phils are 25 years and 2 months old, and the Yanks, Colorado, Tampa following behind them. But, you know, it's to say that we've gotten a chance to see guys like Aaron Nola and Vince Velasquez and Adam Morgan have some success so far at the big league level. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of reason to be excited about the youth movement that the Phils have had. Not only in their position players, but in their pitching rotation as well.
And as we said, it sort of carries over down to the farm system. Now, Mark Appel has given up a couple of runs in his last few starts. Last couple of starts, Alec Asher has pitched well. Ricardo Pinto, we talked about him having 15 wins last season in the minor leagues and had a no-hitter tonight against the Trenton Thunder. He gave up a hit, but he's got upside. We saw Jared Eichhoff a moment ago. Despite his struggles last night, he's got upside. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Mallex Smith. Now, Pete did say to us today, and Bob McClure has said this to us, there are going to be speed bumps for these young guys. He talked about a Nola game last year where he gave up the grand slam to Jason Worth, how that taught him a lesson. There are going to be games like that.
Well, and the same with young hitters. They're going to have speed bumps. It's a matter of learning from mistakes. Pitchers can learn from mistakes a little quicker than hitters can.
Back over the middle, and that's going to be a base hit for Mallex Smith. That'll bring Nick Markakis to the plate. They'll have to keep an eye on Mallex Smith, even though it's a 4-0 lead. You don't expect he's going to be going anywhere, but he does have good wheels. Wonder how he's going to go after Markakis. He's basically gotten him with fastballs in his first 2 at-bats. Got him out front. Out to shallow left center field. David Lowe comes in. And there are 2 outs. All right, Matt, it's time now for the Jeep Stump the Fans Trivia Quiz answer. Question again: what 2 catchers have reached double digits in home runs in at least 9 of the past 13 years?
Brian McCann and A.J. Przinsky.
Well, there's definitely a tie to the Atlanta Braves. Brian McCann and A.J. Przinsky are correct. Log back on to Phillies.com to find out if you are a winner of a Phillies prize pack. 2,000 games tonight. Over 1,800 of those games behind the plate. 1,894. Actually, this is 95. He has 2,004 hits. I would say that's a career that a catcher is going to remember. Ball is low. The throw to second base is not in time.
Tough throw, a tough throw to throw on right there. Tough pitch. He slipped just a hair before just as he was releasing the ball. Smith had a tremendous jump though, stealing second base. A lot of times you talk about, well, I stole that off the catcher, stole it off the pitcher. He stole that one off the pitcher. Getting a good read and a good jump.
6 stolen bases now for Smith. He's in scoring position. Count is 1-0 to Ender Inciarte, who is hitless in 2 ABs. Fly ball left field. It's not deep. Low coming in and gets there and makes the catch. And the side is retired. No runs, 1 hit, 1 man left in scoring position. It's the first time tonight the Braves have gotten a base runner into scoring position. Fourth home run of the season, back in the 4th.
Nice easy swing, fastball down and in. Hits a towering fly ball to right field to get the lead, extended lead right there.
Gave the Phillies a 3-0 lead at the time. They added another run in the 4th inning. So we take a look at our Delaware Valley Honda dealers game summary. 4 runs on 7 hits for the Phillies. Velasquez, meanwhile, 5 strikeouts over 6 innings. Aaron Blair, the starter for the Braves, was knocked out after 3 2/3. So now we go to the top of the 7th. Odubel Herrera will lead it off. Odubel is 2 for 2 with a walk and a run scored. And Bud Norris, the 3rd pitcher used tonight by Freddie Gonzalez, begins his 2nd inning of relief. course, still has good velocity. 95. He hit 96 in the last inning.
You know, he's been one of those guys that's always had good velocity. It's just a matter if he could sustain it and duplicate it every start when he was with Houston, with Baltimore. That was the big thing on him, is that he couldn't spot that 95 or 94 mile an hour fastball consistently.
Yeah, that's the kind of, those are the kind of pitches right there. I mean, this guy should be a better starting pitcher than he has been. Line drive, base hit it to center field. Third hit for Odubel Herrera. 16 hits now on this road trip. Phillies fans, next time you want to grab Phillies seats, get the StubHub app. Not only will you find seats you'll love whenever you want, you can find the best seat for your buck. When you sort by best value, we take the price and location of seats and show you which tickets StubHub will give you the best deal. Get the StubHub app today. Phillies will be home beginning tomorrow night. In fact, tomorrow the Phillies will honor the top teachers, the top 10 teacher all-stars on the field, selected from over 1,000 nominations. Teacher Appreciation Night. In fact, Darren Ruff, his favorite teacher growing up, will be in from Nebraska as part of the pregame ceremonies, as Odubel Herrera was running on that pitch. It's all part of the homestand. The Reds for 3, the Marlins for 3. Off day next Thursday, and then the Braves wrap it up the 20th, 21st, and 22nd. Be nice to get home. Be nice to get home for an extended period of time. Saturday is Teva respiratory night. That free baseball cap to all fans coming to the ballpark. Gates open at 5:05. Inside corner, 1-2. On Sunday, you'll be heading back to Canada.
Correct.
Darren Dalton will be in town to throw out the first pitch.
I think I'll leave at 105 after he throws the first pitch.
Yep, all part of his foundation being represented at the ballpark. And Odubel Herrera has just been picked off. Mickey Morandini is saying that he was safe, so go to the replay. And Odubel's just standing on the first base bag.
Well, Freddie Freeman thinks he has him because he's just walking away. They're safe.
Yep, he's safe. So they're going to review that, and they should see that Odubel got his hand in. Now, Pete McCann has not asked for any kind of a challenge yet. See, he's on the bag, and the tag is not there yet. Mickey Morandini's peeking right at it, and he made the signal right away to put the headphones on. Up in New York, they've already started taking a look at it as the umpires came over, so they should have an answer pretty quickly.
As all the players start walking towards their position after they saw the big screen showing the safe play at first base.
Yeah, what we showed you at the same time we were showing you, they were showing it here at the ballpark. So Freddie Freeman went back over to first base bag where he'll hold on the runner, and he is safe at first.
Well, it's a good time right now, Tom, to wish my lovely wife, Lisa, and my beautiful daughter, Alicia, a very happy birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday, gals.
Very special having your daughter born on your wife's birthday.
Now, did that take away from Lisa's attention when?
Nothing does.
Oh, okay. Blanco waves at that pitch, so he's down on strikes. Well, happy birthday, ladies. Hope you're enjoying your birthday. It's good, though. That's one less day you have to really remember. So now you have to remember 3 birthdays instead of 4.
And sometimes it comes around to where it's a Sunday on Mother's Day.
Wow.
So it helps.
Seriously. Well, Lisa's gift was that all 3 girls are back home after their excursions.
Correct.
To Australia and to Cuba.
Hawaii.
Hawaii.
I think my wife's biggest gift was my youngest daughter, Chandler, who went skydiving in Australia.
Which was awesome.
Which was unbelievable.
It was awesome.
Her feet landed perfectly.
That would be the greatest gift for a parent.
Well, first she didn't think she had someone jumping with her. Like Lisa, she's never parachuted before. They're not going to allow her to go by herself.
The video, which she sent to you, we watched over and over again, and the scenery was just phenomenal.
Amazing.
Over to shortstop. That could be 2. Castro to second for 1. Side is retired. No runs, 1 hit, and nobody left. Time to stretch here in Atlanta. We'll go to the bottom of the 7th. The Phillies lead it 4-0 over the Braves. To see DeAndre Bembry and Isaiah Miles from St. Joseph's out at the Combine, hopefully reaching their dreams of making it to the NBA. Time now for our Hyundai defensive plays of the game.
Well, it's not about strikeouts, it's all about ground balls. Beckham right here hits a fastball back up the middle for the easiest 6-3 double play. And Beckham again gets a curveball down the zone. Very nice pitch, very nice double play, a 6-4-3. Those are your Hyundai defensive play of the games, brought to you by your local Hyundai dealers.
So Beckham has 2 ground ball double plays. Freddie Freeman will lead it off. It'll be Freeman followed by Kelly Johnson, and Velasquez still throwing fastballs. It's only his 74th pitch of the night. Cervenka, talented left-handed reliever we have not seen, is warming up for Atlanta. Change up. On the Toyota Major League scoreboard, the Royals and the Yankees are battling in the Bronx. Yankees lead 5-3. Chase Headley, a 2-run home run. They're celebrating in New York. You know why, Matt?
First home run.
First extra base hit. Yeah. Freddie Freeman has a base hit to start the 7th. American League Central has the Royals 1 game under 500. The 2-time defending American League champs, the world champions last year. Chicago 23-12, 5 games up. KC is 4-11 in its last 15 games. Here's Kelly Johnson. 0 for 1.
Good location with that fastball. 2-0. Kelly's first extra base hit in 102 or 90 at bats, I should say. 102 plate appearances.
Yeah,
in that bandbox.
Yeah, hitting a $178 before tonight. Change up low, 3-1. A.J. Pierzynski waits on deck. And ball 4. Johnson walks for the second time. For the first time tonight, the Braves have 2 runners on base at the same time. Later tonight, the Phillies' hot start has taken just about everyone by surprise. MLB Network's Paul Severino gives his take. Check out the 700 level show tonight at 10:30 over on TCN, the Comcast network. A.J. Pierzynski is fly to right. He's also reached on an error by Freddie Galvis on a fly ball to shallow left field. All right, so he's got a couple double plays tonight, Matt. Be nice to roll one here.
It's so important this first pitch, though. Get it over for a strike. Well, I must say Mike Winters, the home plate umpire, has had a very good zone tonight, and he hasn't been given that fastball away to left-handers. Good changeup. Fastball, but almost like a BP fastball again.
Yeah, 6 miles an hour off his top fastball of the night. He's throwing a lot of off-speed pitches. There's David Hernandez. It's a rested Phillies bullpen. So first sign of trouble, they're probably going to go to it, even though this is only his 86th pitch of the night. Boy, these pitches are awfully close. Now, he's teetering a little bit out of the strike zone. But it's 3 balls and 1 strike. 5th time tonight he's reached a 3-ball count. A floater out to right field. That'll drop in for a hit. Freeman will stop at third. And the Braves now have the bases loaded and nobody out. That means the tying run is coming to the plate. Gordon Beckham. Bob McClure is going to head out and have a conversation with his young right-hander. He has not faced much adversity here tonight.
Well, it's interesting. You went through the first 6 innings. If you got into a 2-ball, 1-strike situation, he was challenging with the fastball. This is back when the game was 1-0 at times. He was throwing a 2-1 fastball. Then all of a sudden you get a 4-1 lead. Back-to-back hitters, Freddie Freeman and Johnson. 2-1 counts were both changeups.
Yeah, so the thought is just go back, challenge him. Now, he just said something to the home plate umpire, or the home plate umpire may have, Cameron Rupp may have said something, and Velasquez may have backed it up. Pitches were close to Pierzynski, but as you said, Winters has been very fair here tonight. So now with the bases loaded, Beckham will be up, and the Phillies will play the infield at double play depth. They lead it 4-0, but now they're looking to get some outs. A liner out toward the alley in left center field. That's going to split the gap and go right to the wall. 1 run is in. 2 runs will score. Rounding third, heading for home is Pierzynski. He'll score. It's a bases clearing double for Beckham, and all of a sudden it's a 1-run game. And still nobody out here in the 7th inning. And that's going to be it for Velasquez. There's the call from Pete Mackanin. They'll bring in David Hernandez. And the Phillies are involved in another 1-run ball game. Velasquez will exit after going 6+ tonight. We'll see if David Hernandez can get through this problem 7th. One 4-3 here at the bottom of the 7th inning. A pitching change for the Phillies. And here's that last pitch to Gordon Beckham.
Yeah, it's a breaking ball. Stays up in the plate. Gordon Beckham stays through it and drives it to left field. Previous at bat, he threw the same pitch just a little farther outside. He hooked it towards shortstop, excuse me, for a 6-4-3. This time, ball stayed in the middle and he hit a double.
So
3-run double.
Yeah, so David Hernandez will face Jeff Francoeur, who will pinch hit for the Braves. Francoeur hits it past Ryan Howard into right field. Beckham's around third, heading for home, and this is a tie ball game. An RBI single for Jeff Francoeur. 4 runs are in here in the 7th inning for the Atlanta Braves. And wow, has this unraveled very quickly for Pete Mackanin and the Phils here in the bottom of the 7th inning.
Frenchie coming off that bench, you know what he's looking for is a fastball. He gets it knowing that there's none out and he has to hit the ball to right field.
Does a nice job hitting the ball to right field for a base hit.
So a 4-4 game here in the bottom of the 7th, and Castro's up for the second time. He squares and bunts at it and misses. It's 0-1. First 6 innings, the Braves were 2 for 19. This inning, 4 for 4 with a walk. The first 5 batters have reached base. Velasquez's night is done. The line is complete on him. And Castro bunts it toward third. It's a foul ball. 0-2. The way the Braves season's going, or has gone, I don't think anybody saw that coming. 4 runs in 1 inning against the guy that was dominating them. Freddie Gonzalez's team was unable to really catch up to Velasquez's fastball, but he kind of deviated his game plan here in the 7th inning.
He did. For a few pitches, he got away from throwing that fastball. Decided to use a couple of changeups in different areas.
There's a strikeout of Castro, 1 away, and Alex Smith will be the batter. Will have to hurry to turn 2. Perfect double play ball on the side is retired. However, the Braves have come back from a 4-0 deficit. They put a 4 spot up here in the 7th inning. Jeff Francoeur tied it up with a base hit. We'll head to the 8th. Pennsylvania Millions. Players must be 18 or older. Please play responsibly. By Jefferson. Call 800-JEF now or visit jefferson.edu. And by Nissan. Shop ChooseNissan.com. Well, it's a new ball game. It's a 4-4 game as we go to the top of the 8th inning here in Atlanta. The Phillies were up 4-0 at one point. And now as we go to the top of the 8th inning, after Beckham's 3-run double and Jeff Francoeur's pinch hit single, the Braves will turn to Hunter Cervenka, who is pitching in his 15th game. He has not allowed a run.
Good arm, 91, 94, slider 85 to 88 into the big old curveball, 77 to 80.
The Red Sox originally took this young man from Texas in the 27th round in 2008. His trek to the big leagues, though, was not easy. He's on to face Ryan Howard, and Howard takes outside. It's 1-0. He got as high as AAA. Or I should say AA with the Cubs before he went to independent ball, and then the Braves picked him up. Outside 2-0. Hector Neris is warming up in the pen. Howard cracks his bat. Castro, the shortstop on the right side, throws him out. And one away. Freddie Galvis coming up. Galvis homered back in the 4th inning from the left side. Galvis 1 for 3. Freddie may have been fooled by that pitch. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
I like to say not being fooled. He's setting the pitcher up.
And he's down on strikes for the next time he faces him. Now there are 2 outs here in the 8th inning. That'll bring Cameron Rupp to the plate. Sunday, May 22nd, when the Phillies take on these Atlanta Braves, it'll be Wistar Institute Melanoma Awareness Day, presented by Independence Blue Cross and Citizens Bank. A free Phillies visor to all fans coming to the ballpark that day. There is the visor. Tickets can be purchased by going to Phillies.com. Well, now with 2 outs, Cameron Rupp, who has struck out twice and grounded out.
Cameron needs to get that pull mode out of his head right now. He's pulling, trying to pull everything. He's swinging over top of the ball. No flexibility in his lower half. Upper body's swinging right now. It's like he's almost getting in the caught in between his little rock with his hands. Like he's getting beat like that right there. He's starting nice and early. He's recognizing the pitch, but to get that separation, that front foot going down and the hands going back at the same time is off just by a hair. And that's the reason why you've seen some off balance swings, which we usually don't see against him. Or he's late on a pitch like that.
Must be something funky about this kid because it doesn't look like they're seeing everything perfectly. Really not a kid anymore. He's 20. He's going to be 27 years old in his first year in the big leagues. Tough for the catcher to pick him up too. Ground ball toward the shift. Castro shaded that way. Throws him out. It's a 1-2-3 eighth inning for Cervenka. So he has been scoreless for 10 1/3 since making his major league debut. We'll head to the bottom of the eighth. MLB Play Ball Day, proudly supported by Chevrolet, will be this Sunday when the Phillies take on the Cincinnati Reds. A bat and ball set free to fans 14 and under. And then following the game, it's Nemours Kids Run the Bases. So you want to get out to see the Phils and the Reds this entire weekend and also get a chance to see everything going on with MLB Play Ball Day. Tickets can be purchased by going to Phillies.com. There's going to be a lot of great things going on around the ballpark because of the Play Ball Day. Over at the Phillies Urban Youth Academy, there'll be the pitch, hit, and run that'll be taking place. In fact, before the game on Sunday, the starting 9 will go out and they'll get a chance to exchange a hat with their favorite Philly player when they're out on the field. Hope you get a chance to get out and see the Phils and the Reds this weekend. Actually, the cap exchange will take place on Saturday. The starting 9 will be out there on Sunday to get autographs from their favorite Phillies player. Players will wear special T-shirts during batting practice and the play ball patches on their uniform. There'll be a youth baseball and softball parade prior to the start of Saturday's game. And the Urban Youth Academy is going to be busy from 8:30 a.m. until game time as Markakis waves at the pitch. It's 2-1. Vizcaino, the closer, warming up for the Braves. Swing and a miss. Markakis is struck out. And one away. Every time the Phillies pitchers retire, the opposition 1-2-3, which Vince Velasquez did twice tonight. Comcast will make a contribution to Phillies charities. Phillies baseball is brought to you by Xfinity. The new Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. Ciarte is 0 for 3. He's grounded out. He is struck out. And he's flied out to left. No effort at all by Terry Pendleton in the first base coach's box.
He's been doing that for quite a few years.
Gold Glover over third. Not in the third base coach's box, but as a third baseman. Couldn't be bothered. I remember when I was doing the pre and post game show on the radio, and I would do the interviews on the concourse, whether it be at Veterans Stadium or at Citizens Bank Park. And I asked Terry Pendleton, I would get a visiting player every so often or a visiting coach. Ryan Howard has that one, flips over to Neris, covering an awkward grab, and there are 2 outs. And I remember asking Terry Pendleton to come up, and I was explaining to him what we were doing, and he came up. He could not have been nicer. You know, it's a 5-minute interview, 4-minute interview. And early when we first started doing it at Citizens Bank Park, it wasn't the big broadcast booth that Jim Jackson has now. It was just a table out there. And he walked out, and there was a swarm of people, you know, 50, 60 people who were out there for the interview. And his eyes got so wide, I forgot to explain to him that it was going to be in front of a studio audience. But he could not have been nicer. Just tucked hitting for 5 minutes. Freddie Freeman is 1 for 3. Takes outside, 1-0. Swing and a miss, 1-1. At that time, the gift card was for an audio video store. So he liked that. It was a $100 gift card. 2-1. That one is line, caught by Ryan Howard over at first, and the side is retired. Nothing across for the Braves. Neris does his job. We'll go to the ninth and see if the Phillies offense can do their job and get a run or two. Grade students join Ryan Howard and his teammates as they act out scenes from the book A Little Rhino series during a Little Rhino read-along on June 8th. Proceeds benefit the Phillies MLB Urban Youth Academy through the Ryan Howard Big Peace Foundation. Head to Phillies.com/readalong for more information. Well, we go to the top of the 9th inning. What was a 4-0 lead for the Phillies is now a 4-4 ball game. And Arodys Vizcaíno, the closer for the Braves, is on. Here in the top of the 9th, he has 20 strikeouts in 13 1/3, and he's going to face David Lowe, a pinch hitter, and then Peter Borges. Looks like Cesar Hernandez is going to be the pinch hitter. And he is in the on-deck circle, but it's Lowe that needs to get on to get things rolling. David Lowe was hit by pitches last time. He's 0 for 2. One ball and no strikes to him.
There's that fastball away, just missing and not getting the call for a strike. Again, he's had a very good fastball strike zone tonight.
There's Cesar waiting on deck. 2 balls and 1 strike to David Lowe. Check swing.
I always find it interesting when you look at the defense and how they're set up late in the innings. David Lowe, who I think is the guy who's an opposite field up the middle hitter. If a ball gets past Freddie Freeman to his left, he's got 0 range.
It's very true.
I was always surprised when they always said, hey, well, guard the line, you know, move you over farther and farther. I'm like, I'm almost in foul territory.
I can get to that. I can fall down and get to that.
A hard hit ball to his right by 2 steps is the same thing. It's a double. But your third baseman plays normal off the bag.
He just pointed into the dugout to see if they wanted him to play a little differently. There he is. Right center field. It's not deep. Markakis comes running in and makes the grab. Sliding catch by Nick Markakis. 1 out here in the 9th inning.
Markakis has always been a very good defender. Playing no doubles, playing really deep. Concentration the whole way.
See the gold on his glove. He did win a Gold Glove while playing for the Baltimore Orioles. Here's Cesar batting for Hector Neris, and it's 0-1. Neris throws a scoreless inning. Elvis Araujo and Genmar Gomez.
Shows the respect right there with Cesar Hernandez hitting a very good fastball. A hitter. 2-1 count. Breaking ball.
He got him. Threw him a changeup. 2 outs. The Phils have 1 hit since the 4th inning. And that was the single by Odubel Herrera in the 7th. In fact, they only have 2 base runners since the 4th inning. The hit by pitch for David Lowe. Peter Borges is 1 for 3.
Now we see why AJ's calling the off-speed pitches. No idea where the fastball's going right now.
It's very true.
Has good command of the off-speed. But does he call the 2-0 slider right here, the 2-0 breaking ball?
He threw a fastball and he had it, and he fouled it back to the screen. Good slider there. 2-2. Braves 9th inning. They'll have Kelly Johnson, Przynski, and Beckham due up. Got him. Back-to-back strikeouts for Vizcaino. That's 8 hitters in a row retired by the Braves bullpen. We'll move to the bottom of the 9th inning. Kelly Johnson will lead it off.
In Atlanta, when this game is finally a final, the Phils will get home for the first time in a while, and they'll meet the Cincinnati Reds in a weekend matchup. Here's the pitching matchup you'll see. Brandon Finnegan will take the ball for the Reds versus Jeremy Hellickson. That will be tomorrow, Friday night. On Saturday, Tim Adelman versus Aaron Nola. And then on a Sunday game, first pitch at 1:35, it'll be Dan Straley versus Adam Morgan. But as we know, guys, this is locked up at 4, so this one's not over yet.
Nope. As we go to the bottom of the 9th inning, Elvis Araujo will take over his 12th game. Elvis 1-0 with an ERA of 2.57. This has been an interesting game in which Vince Velasquez went 6 dominating innings. In the 7th inning, he was still out there and ran into trouble. And then the last batter he faced was in the 7th inning. It was Gordon Beckham.
Yeah, it was an off-speed pitch and stayed up in the zone. The bases loaded. Gordon Beckham hits that ball to left field, clears the bases. Make it 4-3 ball game at that time, and then Frenchie came up and had a base hit to right field, and Beckham would score the tying run
That was your WB Mason delivery of the game.
Well, Beckham will bat in this inning, but he's due up third. The first batter is Kelly Johnson against Araujo, and Araujo delivers the strike. It's 0-1. Fly ball to center field, and Odubel will put it away. And that'll bring Przinsky to the plate, who is 1 for 3. He had one of the hits in the 7th inning, one of the 4 hits in the 7th inning that helped them to that 4-run inning. Play 1-1. Andrew Bailey's out in the bullpen. Then they bring him in to face Beckham if they want to match up righty against righty. Jason Grilli, meanwhile, is in the pen for the Braves. Vizcaino was probably one and done. Another fly ball to center field. Should be another easy play for Herrera. And they're going to let Araujo face Beckham with 2 outs here in the 9th inning. Phillies in their half of the 10th, and they're hoping there is a half of the 10th. We'll have the top of the order up. Chase Darno has come out of the on-deck circle to pinch hit for the Braves. And Beckham lines one to right field. That's his 2nd hit. So Darno will bat. And Pete Buchanan's going to come out. It looks like he's going to take out Elvis Araujo. He will. So Andrew Bailey will be the new pitcher for the Phils to face the right-handed hitting Chase Darno. With 2 away here in the bottom of the 9th inning. It is a 4-4 game. Araujo's night is done, and Andrew Bailey's night is just beginning. Tonight's road trip finale against the Braves only on Cure Auto Insurance presents Phillies post-game live. Well, we have 2 outs at the bottom of the 9th inning. Andrew Bailey will be the new pitcher for the Phils. And he is being called on with a runner at first base to face Chase d'Arnaud. Bailey in his 6th game, 7 1/3, 7 strikeouts. Bailey's been good for the Phillies since coming back up from the minor leagues, facing d'Arnaud, who's riding a 3-game hitting streak. He is 3 for his last 9. He started game 1 of this series. Beckham has not stolen a bag this year. He was a better base runner when he was with the White Sox earlier in his career. But never really stole a lot of bases. His high water mark was 7. Can't imagine that Freddie Gonzalez would put him in motion to steal a bag here using a pinch hitter.
That was always my worst fear. If a guy is at first base, he tries to steal, gets thrown out, and you just get burnt.
That was tardy by Mike Winters. And a balk is called, so Bailey will go to, or excuse me, so Beckham will go to second base. Second base umpire Mike McGlinskey is the one who made the call. Andres Blanco just asked so he can go in and talk to Bailey. I think it was just a case where Bailey didn't stop.
Close.
That's close. I think he stopped though. Well, it's a judgment call by the umpire.
We have seen a lot worse.
Absolutely. It's supposed to be 1/1000 basically, or 1 Mississippi. I mean, that was, he stopped. He wasn't trying to deceive anybody, and that's the key component of what an umpire is looking for. Popped him up. Michael Franco over at third base is under it. And he makes the catch. And we're going to go extra innings here in Atlanta. No runs, 1 hit, and 1 man left in scoring position. We'll head to the 10th inning. Top of the order due up for the Phils. Tied up at 4. I don't think anybody would have seen this going into the 7th inning, the way Vince Velasquez was dealing against the Braves, but they put a 4 spot up against Vince, and the Phillies offense has gone quiet. So as we go to the top of the 10th, the Phils, with all those 1-run victories, they've led to 3 extra inning wins. They'll face the veteran Jason Grilli. Grilli is 1-1 with an ERA of 4.91. Former major league closer, former major league starter. Has basically become a setup man for Vizcaíno.
Former major league teammate of mine. Did a very good sinker. That's his bread and butter pitch. That sinker. Late movement. And a good changeup as well.
He's been an all-star. That was back in 2013 with the Pirates. Pirates picked him up from the Phils. And he'll face Odubel Herrera here in the top of the 10th inning. Odubel's had a good night. He's 3 for 3 with a walk. And he whacks the first pitch foul. He was trying to get on base immediately, and it's 0-1.
That first pitch, Odubel started his leg kick and just left it there. Then recognized the pitch and attacked it.
Outside, 1-1. In the air to right field. Markakis going back on it, back toward the track. It's over his head and it's off the wall. Odubel's already at second. He's heading to third. Boy, he nearly missed the second base bag, but he's there with a head-first slide. A leadoff triple here at the top of the 10th inning. That was a nice, easy swing, and he timed it perfectly, which is what led to how deep it went.
Look at the location, though. It's out of the strike zone down. And like you said, Tom, he got his foot down nice and early, took a nice, easy swing. Almost missed second base by looking back. But he's very excited. You can see it right there.
Well, that ties his career high, 4 hits in a game. He's 6 for 13 in the series. And Andres Blanco will come up with the infield in. And the Phillies with the go-ahead run over third. That's the first hit for the Phils since the 7th, just the second one since the 4th. And Blanco hits it foul, and it's 0-1.
You know, if you do a scouting report on Odubel Herrera and what type of hitter he is, very good fastball hitter, a very good bad ball hitter. It's almost like a Vladimir Guerrero.
Yeah. And Blanco is hit by the pitch, so that'll put runners on first and third. That was one of those two-seamers that just kept running in, and Andres tried to turn out of the way. And Michael Franco with the infield in.
Right in the shoulder. If you're going to get hit, that's the proper way and the proper technique of getting out of a way of a ball going to hit you.
All right, so back in the first inning, 2 runners on, and Michael Franco with the sac fly to bring the runner home. 2 runners on the corners. Same situation here. Just get it to the outfield to get the run in. No balls and 1 strike. Kelly Johnson at second base. It's almost as if he's pacing. keeps moving back and forth.
He's not sure what to do at second base.
He was on the other side of the diamond on the first pitch. Franco's got to bear down now. He's behind, no balls and 2 strikes.
In this situation, you hit a ground ball. Odubel does not have to go on contact. Now the infielders have to make sure that Odubel's not going home. Then Johnson has to find second base. A lot of things are happening right now if the ball is hit on the ground.
Missed a spot and it ran inside, 1-2. Got him. 91-mile-an-hour fastball that was up. 1 out. Ryan Howard will bat here in the 10th inning.
Yeah, good fastball. It's not a lot of movement on the sinker. A pretty good ball to hit the outfield or make solid contact on.
So Freddie Gonzalez is going to go to the bullpen here as Grilli will be lifted from the game with 1 out and runners on first and third. Darren Ruff has already popped out of the on-deck circle. So he's going to pinch hit for Ryan Howard. So we've got a pitching change. Ian Kroll will come on to face Darren Ruff. Phillies and the Braves tied at 4, and Ian Kroll, just up for the minor leagues, has pitched in 1 game since being recalled. It was the other night against the Phillies. Is on to face Darren Ruff, who will pinch hit for Ryan Howard here in the top of the 10th inning. Now hopefully Darren looked at what Jeff Francoeur did in his pinch hit appearance and also listened to what Pete Mackanin said before the ball game today, that they want him to be more aggressive, that he just hasn't been aggressive enough as a pinch hitter, and they feel like that's part of the reason why he has struggled. First pitch to him, hit foul. That was an aggressive swing. He fouled it off to the right, and it's 0-1. Matt, you kind of alluded to that last night when he grounded into the double play as a pinch hitter. I mean, you did it for a long time. Sometimes you can be a little picky, but other times you look for that first good pitch to hit.
Well, one thing about being a pinch hitter, you have to have a short memory.
Popped it up foul again. It's 0-2. Darren overall hitting $161 this year. No homers and 3 runs batted in.
The worst thing for a pinch hitter is to think, I have to get a hit here. I have to get the hit here.
And a fastball right down the chute. Strike 3 call. 2 outs. Darren Rupp is struck out, and Freddie Galvis is coming up. Odubel Herrera led off the inning with a triple. Andres Blanco was hit by a pitch. Now back-to-back strikeouts, and it's up to Freddie Galvis. And Galvis takes inside. Two and 0.
Be a good time to spike a fastball right here.
Almost did. 11 wild pitches while Perzinski's caught this year. Cameron Rupp is on deck. And ball 4 to load up the bases. Toyota Major League Scoreboard. The Dodgers on a Justin Turner RBI single lead the Mets 1-0. That game's in the bottom of the first inning. Last night it was Noah Syndergaard who pitched well and hit well. He had 2 home runs for the Mets.
He actually hit better than he pitched.
Yeah. Yeah, he was trailing 2-1 when he hit his second home run. It was a 3-run shot. Maybe it was 3-1. Either way, they were trailing 2-1. All right, so now it's Cameron Rupp with the bases loaded at 2 men down. And a line drive base hit into left center field. 2 runs will score, maybe more. Blanco trails Herrera. Here comes Galvis heading home. It's a 3-run double for Cameron Rupp here in the top of the 10th inning, and the Phillies retake the lead. You want to talk about some clutch hitting. Cameron Rupp just came through with a 3-run double. It's 7-4 Phils. Boy, did he just pick up his teammates.
And what a great swing right here. A breaking ball down in the zone. Stays through it. Actually hits the ball almost the exact same spot as Beckham did to left field. Huge hit, though, and you called it. Getting that knock and picking up the 2 hitters prior to that.
And now David Lowe, who takes a strike. It's 0-1. Two of those 3 runs charged to the line of Jason Grilli. Janmar Gomez in the bullpen. It's still a safe situation, and honestly, it probably wouldn't matter. He's probably coming in anyway. Phillies are going to try to seal the deal. And a strike 3 called. Lowe is down looking, but the Phillies will take the 3 strikeouts by the Braves pitching because they've exchanged it for 3 runs. Cameron Rupp is, well, he's greeted with all kinds of high fives and hugs in the dugout. His 3-run double has given the Phils a 7-4 lead. Clutch hitting after his 2 teammates struck out. He comes through to clear the bases. Freddie Galvis the 3rd run, and now the Phils will go for the victory in the bottom of the 10th inning. there. He provided the Phillies with their 10th hit of the night, and it was a big one, a 3-run double that's given them a 7-4 lead as we go to the bottom half of the 10th inning. A.J. Pierzynski, a very emotional ball player, always has been, playing in his 2000th career game. He wanted a different pitch than what Ian Kroll wanted with Cameron Rupp up.
Yeah, he goes through the sequences. He wants something other than this pitch right here. And you can tell by the reaction. Watch AJ behind home plate. Angry, he knows he got shook off. You don't shake Crash off. That's the bottom line, you don't. He's a veteran, he knows what he wants, and you can see he's still not very happy about it.
Yeah, he's still seething about it. Well, Genmar Gomez is on to try to close it out for the Phillies. And he will face Castro to lead things off. First pitch in there. It's 0-1. Genmar is tied for the National League lead, tied for the Major League lead in saves with 12. He's tied with Jeurys Familia, one ahead of Steve Cishek, Sean Tollison, and Kenley Jansen of the Dodgers. He spikes it out to second. 4-3 on the putout. Darren Ruff, as you see, is still in first base, still over at first base after pinch hitting for Ryan Howard. And now Mallex Smith will be the batter.
Not a bad idea right there. Not a lot of times am I happy watching pitchers throw to guys in the first pitch that throws off speed pitch, because your changeup, what are you throwing your changeup off of? But for guys that are fastball hitters like Smith is, he hits the ball on the ground and he runs. Off speed pitches, you try to get him out front so he gets the ball elevated. It's a time where you face the big hitters that can leave the ballpark, is where you want to stay away from the off speed, or the changeup, I should say, first pitch.
Fly ball to center field. Odubel Herrera will put it away for the second out. Phillies are looking to even up their record on this road trip. If they win tonight, it's a 5-5 trip. It also would move them to 12-10 on the road this year. And we've talked a lot about 16 of 19 on the road. This 19-game stretch, if they win tonight, would feature 9 wins on the road. 9 of the 16 games would be victories, and 12 wins overall. That's a heck of a run.
That's with St. Louis, Washington, Milwaukee.
Broken back ground ball. This should do it. Markakis will be retired by Andres Blanco, and the Phils needed an extra inning, but they win it tonight by a final score of 7-4. Genmar Gomez takes over the Major League lead in saves. Odubel Herrera, for the second time this year, reaches base safely 5 times. 4 for 4, 3 singles, a triple. He scored the eventual game winner in the top of the